I've been talking about optogenetics, and maybe I'll come and talk about that sometime. But optogenetics it's a hot topic in modern research, and they claim they've never done it on humans, but I cite the Travis Scott concert, which I think is an optogenetic hit. Basically what they do is they can make a chemical called an opsin, and they can hybridize these opsins to do certain things. They can make them very specific, and they can put them in you, and then they can beam a wavelength on it, and it will cause things to happen. Okay, that's a very brief study, but they can do it with very, very precise spatial temporal precision, they call it. Very precise way. So they can start and stop cardiac arrhythmias, for example. That's what I think happened at the Travis Scott concert. They were all vaccinated young people. They walked through strobe lights, and then they went into the music where there's all this wavelength, and it tends to be a lower frequency wavelengths that are used to activate these things. And something happened, and about 14 people dropped, and one person that survived it, that didn't just die, he said, it felt like when I was standing there, my heart just stopped. And that's what you would see in this kind of a hit. But in any case, they're talking about October 4th, an event. And this is, there's a group called TLS. I think it's the light system it stands for. And these are people that claim that they have infiltrated the whatever we want. I call them the Babylonian mafia, but the big guys, the big elite in the world that are running this show, and that they're trying to, through various techniques, turn the tide by getting them to do things in different ways and stopping things. Well, they're the ones that put this out through an intermediary. They said, you need to get this word out. And this is a guy on the internet. And he said, so he's just saying, he put it out. He said, there's a new thing that came out today. I'll put that up. But he said that on October 4th at 2:22 p.m., they're going to do a theoretical test of the emergency broadcast system. Now, we've been hearing this for a while, so that part I can believe. And then they said, but what's really going to happen is they're going to blast this wavelength, and it's going to do something. They don't know, but they're concerned that it's going to do something bad. Now, I will say that in addition to optogenetics and the Travis Scott concert and all the things I've looked at, it's my opinion that while they've been waving their hand about mRNA and trying to distract us over here, this is the kind of thing they've really been doing. And that this is very easy to do and cheaper relative than all that fancy genetic manipulation to do mRNA technology. So I got to say, I think there's some juice behind this. And for me, and I will say this, look at all the Chinese people that were, there were several of these that you saw, and they were looking at their phone, and then the flash, you could see it flash on their face, and then they just slumped over in their chair. We didn't have any follow-up on that, so who knows? And it's hard to know what's PSYOP, but that's consistent. Again, these things, you can't just take one data point, but this looks consistent across the spectrum. We had it happen in Israel, in South Korea. Personally, I'm not going to take any chances. I'm going to take October 4th, and I'm going to take the afternoon off, and I'm just going to not be around any electronics. I'm going to shut down my house grid and put my phone into a Faraday cage. I didn't say to do that before, but that's probably a good idea because they can activate it remotely whether you turn it off or not, unless you take the battery out. So I personally am going to do that, and then if it doesn't happen, they say the backup's on October the 11th, and I'll do it again then. And the worst case scenario, they're going to produce a zombie apocalypse. Think the Hutus and the Tutsis. I mean, they're going to create some behavioral change in people that took this vaccine or somehow have this microtech in their body. That would be the worst case scenario. And the best case scenario is nothing happens, and we all get a nice day away from our electronics to commune with our families and nature. I think that's what I'm hoping for. So anyway, that's October 4th and October 11th. I would take it seriously. I would, it's cheap and easy to do. Now, the problem is if you're at certain work and you're certain jobs, and I don't know what to tell you, but I think the best thing you can do is try and be away of your cell phone. Who knows what else? TVs may do it. But if you're a policeman, you're on duty and you've got to be on the radio. It's probably not going to be the radio, but I don't know. You guys probably know more about that than I do.